What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to another Ever Crisis video, and in turn a little bit of a Rebirth video. So I'm gonna talk about something. If you don't want to listen to this, stop now. It is semi-Rebirth related. There will be some conversations about theories that are going on, and I want to talk about it because it's a theory that I hope does not come true. So it is, again, semi-Rebirth related. Now, first thing I want to talk about Rebirth is I will be streaming tomorrow at midnight for 2 hours, and then I'll be continuing the streams as long as my kids aren't sick. They are actually sick right now and they can go to school. I'll be continuing the next day, probably for the whole day. I've taken 2 days off to do this, so please come and join me if you plan to watch the game. I know there's gonna be a lot of streamers doing it, but if you want to join your boy and follow me in the story and just kind of watch me get my butt kicked and do some butt kicking, I will be doing that tomorrow night, midnight, when the game drops, as well as Thursday, all of Thursday, and then all of Friday, of course, until I have to go pick up my kids, or, you know, just I go unconscious because I'm exhausted as a dad and a full-time employee. Anyways, with that being said, here is my dilemma. Okay, I'm good again. And if you don't want to watch any spoilers, guys, don't watch this now. This is going to be something I want to discuss because it's an important topic to me, and I don't want anyone to ruin their experience with this topic. Okay, so it is going to be revolving around Glenn, our boy Glenn. That's right, Glenn. So I'm going to do a couple of different things right now with this conversation. Number one, I'm going to give you guys the theory. Okay, so again, stop now if you don't want to watch. And then I want to get your opinions on it. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it in the comment section, of course. Let me know where your thoughts are with this. And if you're, first off, do you believe it? Number two, do you guys like the idea? So the idea here has been around two things. So I'm going to show you guys some cutscenes, okay? So bear with me here for a sec. I'm going to go to my page. You guys know here's our boy Glenn, right? Here's Glenn. This is from the cutscene from Sephiroth. We know this is also the cutscene from Sephiroth, from Ever Crisis, as a matter of fact, where Sephiroth is on the phone, he's getting a call from Genesis, and all of a sudden some stranger in a robe shows up who has a goatee, a giant axe, black robe, and a nose with a smile. We don't show his face or his hair, and he actually attacks Sephiroth, and Sephiroth does not recall who this individual is, and we at that point don't know who it is. So we as Ever Crisis players obviously know who it is. It's Glenn Lodbrok. Okay, so we know that he is there. Now fast forward this a little bit over to Rebirth. Now again, I'm going to go to Rebirth, guys. Okay, so if you have not seen trailers, this is an old trailer. Okay, I want to talk about this real quick. We know that Rufus Shinra's ceremony is happening for him becoming president of the company. And while this scene happens, there is a robed figure, right? You can see the robe with a goatee, a full-on goatee this time, not just the bottom part. Right here, there's two different versions of him you guys can see there, right there. And then this one right here, not as clear, obviously, who is watching and smiles when this occurs. Now, a lot of people have speculated for quite some time that this is Glenn. Okay? This is not what this video is about, by the way. I'm just giving you the background. A lot of people have speculated this is Glenn. My personal speculation on this is different. It is actually, in my opinion, this, and I could be completely off the left field, I'm just conspiracy theory here, is that this is another version of Rufus Shinra, who is from another dimension or timeline, and is more watching another version of him become successful. Something he probably could not accomplish, or he just thinks, ha ha ha, you're an idiot for doing this. None of this matters. The real problem is this. So I think this is Shinra. Now, if we look at Rufus's nose, though, and we do a little bit of a comparison, it kind of doesn't match this person's nose. I kind of did a little bit of like work around, like, can this character look like this character? Now, if you've watched Advent Children, you know that Rufus from that version is also, has geostigma. So he has some Sephiroth cells inside of him as well, too. So we don't know how much of Rufus's actual DNA has been altered with Genova cells, or if any, right? So this could very well be that. But a lot of people think this is Glenn. Now, that's very plausible because he does kind of have a similar look to Glenn, a similar outfit that we see him with Sephiroth, but we don't know what the outcome was with the fight between him and Sephiroth, and how did Glenn survive? How do you survive a fight with Sephiroth, right? And that fight is during Ever Crisis times. Not Ever Crisis, sorry, Crisis Core times, when Zack was the lead, it looks like, because Genesis was still calling him. So let's talk about the theory that matters here, okay? A lot of people now are speculating that Glenn is in fact Cloud's dad. Now look, We don't know anything about Cloud's dad. In one of the novels, the only mention they have of Cloud's dad, I believe, is that he packs his bags, goes to the mountain, he you know, in Nibelheim, and he never shows back up again. We don't know anything about Glenn's past. We do know, though, that the father did have some sort of or the character that is his dad talks about Gil a lot and how he owes people money. I believe that was the theory, and people have since then, because Glenn has that same problem, and of course Glenn is blonde, has blue eyes, fits all the features of Cloud, have now kind of put two and two together. And from a timeline perspective, it makes sense, because the events that happened in Ever Crisis happened 15 years before the events that happened in Final Fantasy 7. I believe that's 15 years apart. So everyone is thinking that from a timeline perspective, from a looks perspective, and from like the robe figure that is in the Rebirth trailer, that Glenn is in fact, or could in fact be, the father of Cloud. Now, I don't like that. I don't like that, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like that, okay? I love Glenn as a character, and I feel like making him Cloud's dad, to me, does two diminishing things. Number one, it takes away from his character, because I want him to be as much of a mystery as Cloud is a mystery. And I like the fact that the only person we know about Cloud's life is Claudia, who is his mother, right? So I think that's enough for me to know that Cloud, had a human relationship with someone, has family. I don't want to know about his dad as much as or more than what's already been told. And that's just me personally, because I like the enigma or the mystery and the shroud behind Cloud's past. It kind of makes it more interesting, and I don't want them to piece it together. I don't want them to do that, because Cloud, realistically, at the end of the day, has been an absolute mess of a character, and I think that gives him a lot of the look and feel of his personality, of why he is the way he is. By giving Glenn the biological birthright of Cloud, it asks too many questions. And I don't think those questions will ever be solved. I think they're going to create more issues putting in Glenn as a paternal father to Cloud than they would give us answers. Because then we have to ask the questions: why did you leave? Where did you go? Why didn't you come back? Why did you leave your kid and your wife? All those questions need to be answered. And right now, Glenn's story is so involved around his Project Zero Shinra days, Ever Crisis First Soldier story, and then his battle with Sephiroth, and then moving over to if it is actually him in Rebirth. I don't think adding more layers to that character is smart, because then you're going to diminish, again, I use that word, the effect that he has currently on the story that he is existing in, right? By going back and talking about Cloud and his father, I think you're taking also away from the story that matters, which is Rebirth that's coming out, and the story we know of Final Fantasy 7. I think something like that should be saved for a novel, perhaps, but not in-game. And I really do hope they are very cautious about how they approach this, if it's actually true. So that's my take on it, guys. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it, because for me personally, I think it's important to focus on the story at hand, continue focusing on that, and don't dwell too much into the character's past until we have completed what we need to complete, and that is the current existing storyline. And then if you guys ever want to get into like the past, then we talk about the past. But I think Glenn and Cloud should be separate by all means, and have their own lives, have their own stories, and don't interact with one another. Anyways, my take. I'm curious what you guys think. This is Payne. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.